All right. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones podcast. I am Rudy Wilson, one of your hosts. I am joined, as always, by Janessa Rowland. I almost said Kellie Rowland just because I made that joke last time.
That was last
Kellie Lee and Terry Wayne. Of course, you guys know us, man. We are the Worst Ones. We're preachers' kids. We're out here, embarrassing our parents one day at a time, with our life decisions, you feel me? But we got to live on our own, but of course we didn't run these PK streets alone, we was out here with our siblings, trying to take over the world, and so we wanted to bring them here today to, I guess shake things up and ruin our parents' lives even more. So, Mr. Terry Wayne has brought his sister, Miss Trinity San Pedro. Trinity, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right. And then we got the doctor in the house, Miss Jessica Williams. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing all right. And that's Janessa's sister. She got two siblings in the in the building. And of course we got DJ Rowland. What's up, bro?
How much? How are you?
Good, man. Wow, your voice is really deep. And then
doesn't like it already. He's not on board with this.
And then of course we got my sister. You guys have seen her before, not on this podcast, but yeah, she's in the building. She knows everyone. Reese's Pieces Buttercup. Reese Wilson, what's up?
Hey, I'm glad to be here. I just want to say that I am a fan of the show. I have subscribed on my Apple podcast and left reviews. So.
All right, now. All right.
Thank you, girl.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kellie. Risa.
Yeah, Risa. Yes, I'm supporting.
Well, dope. Well, as far as I guess, how's everyone doing? So I guess we'll start with in the order I introduce you guys. So, Trinity, thank you for joining us. How are you today? How's just life in general? How was your Thanksgiving? How's quarantine? How are you?
Life is good, hectic. Today's been interesting, to say the least. But I'm glad to be here. So.
Okay. No, we're glad to have you.
My Thanksgiving was good. Tiring. I did all the cooking.
Oh wow.
Terry's pies were good.
Pies.
Yeah. He was working on it last week.
He's my pumpkin pie, so he liked it.
Gotcha.
So
the reason they kept asking was because when we did last week's podcast, I was doing all the prep work to make those, so I kept having to leave to check on the pumpkins.
It was the whole thing.
My husband is a huge fan of pumpkin pie.
Got you. Listen, you that was a pumpkin pie you had got, right?
Yeah, pumpkin spice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. I'm not really a pie eater. So what was like what's like your top 3 dishes you cooked as far as like Thanksgiving? That is your favorite. It don't have to be world renowned.
My favorite.
That you made for Thanksgiving like this year. Like what was like what do you say like your best 3?
Cornbread casserole. Done.
Yeah. Corn. My corn casserole. My sweet potato casserole. Except this year we had a problem with the marshmallows. You can ask Carrie about that one.
Twice.
Terry burnt my marshmallows.
Twice.
And
yeah.
And then my sister-in-law makes a killer macaroni and cheese. And then for me, I make really good deviled eggs.
Oh, gotcha. Dope. I like deviled eggs now. Cool.
And then the turkey.
Gotcha.
Turkey was good. Turkey was good this year. Yeah. Even though normally I fry it for our family events, but she wanted to try something new and switched it up, but it was just as good, probably better.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I didn't have to do it, which was awesome.
No, that always works. Jessica, how about you? Glad to see you for one. I know it's been a minute. I feel like I haven't seen you since you probably could pick me up at this point. But but nonetheless, how are things on your end? Your tribe. You got a little Brady bunch going on over there. So how's things going?
Yeah, it's going. It's always a lot going on. You know, we're a family of 6, so like everything's a party.
7, Jessica. 7. Don't leave Charlie out.
7, I know, and we got a dog. So, Thanksgiving was good. You know, just quarantining with 4 kids.
Right.
You know, it's real.
Yeah. What's the 4 ages? What's the ages of the 4?
So we have 4, 5, 7, and 13.
Gotcha.
Wow. Yeah.
Nice little shake up there. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's have they not gone like to the school at all? Everything just been virtual the whole time?
Yeah, they're all virtual learning. And my husband and I both work from home, so it's like a lot of together time.
Gotcha.
It's all for like since March. So
Right. Gotcha.
I don't know why you guys choose to breed. I'll never understand why you don't get it. You hear this? Do you hear all this silence behind me? It's amazing.
Before quarantine, it hit a lot different than it does right now.
Gotcha. I got you. No, that makes sense. Did you cook anything like for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I cooked. Me and my mom, we kind of did a little pair and share. She cooked half the meal, I cooked half the meal, and then we swapped food. So
gotcha.
But my husband fried a turkey, and I did mac and cheese and sweet potatoes, and you know, we just swapped.
Y'all should have Kellie bring out some of her famous Brussels sprouts.
No Brussels sprouts, man. No.
I like Brussels sprouts actually.
Brussels sprouts are good.
Thank you.
It's not, I can't.
It's not the Brussels sprout. It's just the fact that was her contribution.
That was my contribution to Thanksgiving.
Listen,
dinner.
That was good too.
I'm sure you made them very well. It has nothing to do with the preparation. It's a devil weed that should never be consumed by human people.
Kellie was proud of them Brussels sprouts.
Wow.
You can put chocolate sauce on a dog turd. It
I
don't
can't be on all night with y'all. I gotta do Brussels sprouts cooking in the kitchen.
Listen, that was one of the first things that was gone, by the way. Thank you.
Nah, I got you. And I guess y'all spent Thanksgiving together. So like DJ, you were in the mix of all this. You had to put it with the same.
Yeah, they came over for like a little bit, and we got to see each other 6 feet apart. And then they did.
That's right.
Gotcha.
No, you didn't.
Well, DJ, let's just learn about you in general. I don't know anything about you. Like who are you?
I think DJ likes it that way. I think he likes that you don't know anything about him.
On purpose.
Yeah, I mean, just how old are you? What you got going on? What you like? I don't know anything. Favorite color? Something.
Favorite color?
What's your gamer tag on Call of Duty? You know, how about that one?
Right.
I actually don't play COD yet. Getting there soon.
All right.
I do have a PS5, so that's hype.
Okay.
Ooh,
Oh,
really?
yeah,
Congratulations on being one of the few.
Yeah.
One of the few. Yeah.
Look at you.
20 years old. Currently.
So what are you, Fortnite? You're young enough to be Fortnite, I guess.
Hey,
No?
Fortnite, I think is dumb.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It is dumb.
Yeah,
You just had a birthday. You just had a birthday.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I had a
Happy
birthday on 28th. Thank you. A few days late, but it counts.
It's all right. It's your birthday.
I'm in college. I'm a
It's
sophomore.
hilarious.
I go to Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee, but
Woo, Memphis.
yeah, Memphis. But we're on,
Sucks.
which sucks.
You said you're doing what? Is it virtual right now?
Virtual, yeah.
Okay.
And we're hoping to go back in January, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna go back. I need to go back though.
So you said this is your second year. So you started, okay, and then you had to come home in March.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's tough.
I
You
know,
just
right?
getting into that good life, just right.
Come on.
Ooh. And
Yeah.
the world just,
It was a good like couple months.
yeah.
Of the breaks.
Well,
Right. You know, as
DJ.
preachers kids, it takes us a minute to kind of get that feel in there. You know, it takes us a couple of months
gotta find out who clubbing and going to church. Who going to club Saturday and church on Sunday? If you ain't doing that, I can't hang with you.
Did you spend any time in Memphis while you were?
Yeah. So Rhodes is like about 15 minutes from town and like 5 minutes from town. We're like right there. So I've been in Memphis a little bit. I've gone to still waiting to come of age to truly explore Beale Street from a distance.
Like Beale Street, you mean? Come of age to explore Beale Street? Because I don't know if you know this, but that's where Trinity and I are from.
Oh, that's great.
No, it's not. Memphis is not good. That's why I moved away.
I like Memphis. I mean, as long as you go out in the right time,
right
places.
Yeah, right places, right time.
Right time.
Right.
Did you hear this coming of age?
That's what he said.
Hey man, he gotta live. Let him live.
I'm not ready. Where's my pearls?
Memphis is dangerous. Keep an eye on that boy.
Gotcha. All right, and then Lisa, what about you? Obviously we spent Thanksgiving together. Would I order out Chinese? But it was lit. But other than that, how are you? Welcome. Glad to have you. Talk to us.
Well, you pretty much said I was going to say, yeah, we had a good Thanksgiving. All of the restaurants were closed, even though they said they were going to be open. So we wound up getting Chinese food, like the other half of LA who was in there with me. Right. And it was good. It was good. I had a pumpkin spice pie to myself because Rudy don't eat pie. I had a bottle of rosé to myself because Rudy don't drink. So we had a good time.
Rudy doesn't drink?
That's what I was
like that. Yeah, nah.
Nobody in LA knows how to cook. Not one person. Everybody's at the Chinese food restaurant.
I said half. Yes, for sure. Half of LA definitely doesn't know how to cook. We always in there together.
YouTube people, just YouTube it.
Yeah.
No. Lazy. Just get it from somebody else.
Have you seen my Brussels sprouts recipe? Add that.
No. They have it bad enough with the fires.
I eat meal preps. I eat meal preps from Freshly. There's an ad. They can sponsor me, but I eat that. I don't even really cook myself. So, nah.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's all we got, Terry. We're not baking pies, all right? We can't.
Definitely not.
From scratch.
YouTube University, man. You can learn anything.
Yeah. Not interested.
All right.
No.
Okay. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Yes.
Before we go in, I want to acknowledge that I do have a brother.
Oh, right.
Because I'm sitting here by myself.
Right.
I wanted to acknowledge, that I do have a sibling. This just isn't his thing.
Right.
So I didn't even ask him to come on.
Gotcha.
But I would be rude if I didn't at least call out. I do have an older brother. That's it. All right.
Did you want to say his name or just not let it on?
Oh, his name is Jamar.
Well,
he ain't here, so he don't get the credit. That's it. You got to show up to go up. You know what I mean?
I figured since we brought him up, we just go ahead and give him a full shebang.
Give him a name.
Right. Gotcha. All right. So as our sibling guests may or may not know, this podcast was created and it operates or is fueled off of our stigmas, as PKs, as preachers' kids, pastors' kids, even more specifically, in reference to like who we should be, how we should live, decisions we should make, mistakes we shouldn't be able to make, whatever the case may be. It's a whole thing. You guys have lived it. And so, we have back and forth discussions amongst ourselves about many different things. Usually I find a way to make, Jessica and Janessa uncomfortable with my questions. And then,
You mean Janessa and Kellie? Yes.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. There's a lot of people on here. I'm sorry. Janessa and Kellie, I apologize.
It just rolls off the tongue. It happens all the time.
Right.
Talk about me. I'm not even there. Yes, Janessa.
Yeah,
my mom calls me DJ all the time. It's
fine. Yeah, so usually that's how it works, or whatever. And so, but it's because this is just the kind of things that we deal with. So we just wanted to have just real conversations about them. So, Janessa, the wonderful Janessa, she actually came up with some questions for you guys that I'll be asking. And we want to hear you guys' thoughts and responses, whatever the case may be. Once again, feel free to answer as open as however you want to go, or you can give us one word and pass the mic to the next person. So I'm gonna read what she has verbatim, so I don't butcher this at all. It says it is assumed that PKs are sheltered. Our parents are strict, and we go wild once outside of our parents / the church's umbrella. Do you feel like any of these apply to you? If so, how?
If you would have given DJ a couple of more months before COVID in college,
a little time to mess this
right, a little more time. You'd be right in the thick of it. Let me tell you what's going on tonight.
So we thank God for the quarantine. It's a DJ song.
Some of us didn't have quarantine, so
Right.
Probably needed it.
I don't necessarily want to have to control who talks first. So if somebody wants to go ahead and go first, or we can go in the same order we've been going, or however y'all want to do it. Whoever feels. Okay.
By the way, Rudy, you might want to turn your mic down a little bit. You're a little scratchy.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to turn it down. I can turn my whole volume down if that works.
All right.
Is that better?
No. Yeah. A little bit. Nobody wants to answer that question. Did you feel sheltered?
What was the question again? What was the question again?
It's basically so I'm gonna read it in reverse. So the question is, do you feel like any of these apply to you, and if so, how? But what it's referring to is that the assumption that PKs are sheltered and that our parents are strict, and so that once we leave their household, whether it's going to college or whatever the case may be, we go extra buck wild because of how our parents, I guess, had this type of hold on us or whatever growing up, like the way we were raised or whatever. That's the reason why we go buck wild once we leave their household, because I guess we were raised a certain type of way. So if that applies to you, if it does or does not, how does it how does it apply or does not it apply, or just your thoughts about it as a whole?
Trini, you can answer this, or I will.
I'll answer it. That's not a problem. I'll answer.
Go for it.
I think I'm not going to answer for Terry, but I'll answer for myself. I was sheltered probably from the age of 10 and under. My father was extremely strict. He was extremely strict with what movies we saw, with what music we listened to, everything like that. And then once we turned double digits, he kind of loosened the reins a little. Now, he still didn't let us listen to music with curse words and stuff like that. He just didn't like it, even though I did anyways. As far as going buck wild, I did have probably my freshman year of high school. That was a bad year. I went a little crazy.
Oh, yes. Yes, it would be the answer. That's the short answer. Is yes.
But it was only about 1 year, and then I kind of calmed down and then was a normal teen. But it was just about that 1 year that I kind of rebelled, but I rebelled more. There were more issues that I had to rebel against, not just rebelling against the church and the strictness. I just rebelled against everything.
Gotcha.
And that was about it.
Do you think that either the church or your dad's strictness, do you think it I guess played a heavier part than the other stuff, or do you think whatever the other stuff was more in your rebellion?
Well, I think it was that I rebelled. Not only that my father was a minister, but when we were younger, he also ran for city commissioner.
Okay.
So I had to be perfect all the time.
Right.
And I've had conversations with my dad about that, saying that I always had to be perfect. I was always, when I was a kid, and I'm talking 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, I was always the really good girl. Everyone was, oh, she's such a well-behaved girl. And I was always the good preacher's daughter.
Gotcha.
So finally, when Terry was not, I can tell you stories.
That was bad.
But when I finally rebelled, I was like, I no longer have to be perfect. Gotcha. I don't want to be perfect anymore. So I had that short time of rebelling and did some really things that could have ended me in some bad situations.
Gotcha.
Let me just add this real quick. Do you feel, because obviously we grew up together, do you feel, Trinity, that switch between 10 and teens, do you think that had anything to do with the fact that he switched from being a Pentecostal pastor to being a non-denominational pastor in that same period? Because we all know Pentecostals are strict. They just are.
Super strict.
Yeah, he loosened up on his, we couldn't see any movie except Christian movies. He lightened up on that kind of stuff and lightened up on the, I couldn't wear pants, and stuff like that. But he didn't lighten up on, I couldn't listen to rap music. He didn't like it. He threw away many of my Tupac CDs. And then I just bought new ones.
Do you remember when he made you burn your what was it? Was it Cyndi Lauper?
New Kids on the Block.
New Kids on the Block. That's what it was. The New Kids on the Block T-shirt. He's like, this.
No, we burned all of them. All my New Kids on the Block.
Gotcha.
Everything, but it wasn't just with that situation. It wasn't just his decision; it was mine.
Yeah, it was the Pentecostal thing. I think that had a big hand to play in it.
Trinity, are you the older between elders between you and Terry?
Yeah.
Do I have to answer that? No.
Well, I'm asking in the sense of, because I was curious as to, was your dad the way he was with you because due to you, like, you being a girl, like his daughter, or was it like you being the elder child? Like I was trying to see, like, I guess, because obviously you and Terry had two different experiences, even if he made his own decisions to just do whatever, but he still, had a different experience. I was just wondering what was the difference.
No, I was just kind of an ass. Like,
no, we both had the same father. Terry was a wild child. Terry was, I remember one story. Remember one time that there was this teenage girl who used to babysit us. Really long hair.
Oh, Lord, here we go with this again.
Really long hair.
Dude, I was 6.
Down to her butt. And Terry said, here, I want to show you something, and grabbed her by her hair and dragged her around the church with it.
Okay.
I was Terry 6. Leave me alone.
Terry, I believe, had ADD back then, and was never diagnosed.
Right.
You could give him $20 to sit still for 5 minutes and could not do it.
So Terry's probably the reason why your dad got like lessened up on his strictness. He was like, I can't control this motherfucker. Like, this is over. I might as well make both of them free.
I was getting spankings every day, like every day. Just, I think the term is precocious. Is the nice way to put it. I was a precocious child.
Terry was just wild.
Gotcha.
And everyone knew that. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, what about the Rowland clan or Risa, whoever wants to
Go. Because you can't be over here.
I can take it because I feel like I'm in a different place in life now, having a teenager.
She froze.
She froze.
Oh no.
I thought she was giving us a look because of the teenager. She
And it's really changed my perspective.
There she's back.
Oh yeah, you back. You good.
All right, sorry about that. So, thinking back, I definitely felt like, oh, my parents are so strict. They don't let me do anything.
Right.
And now that I have a 13-year-old, I'm like, I don't want you to do anything. Why are you listening to that? And it's worse. It's worse now because there's so much out there.
For sure.
And the music. It's just like. And I feel old now, right? Like saying stuff like, like, what you know about WAP? Why you listening to that? You can't listen to that.
Right.
So I think I realize now how hard it is, and like, I think I have this appreciation for how parents really just do the best that they can,
For sure.
And you're winging it every step of the way.
Gotcha.
I think there's this notion that like your parents know and they have a plan and they have it all figured out.
Right.
And like being on the other side now, I'm like, I have no idea what to do. I have no idea. Like I'm punishing you for this, but like I'm literally making this up. Like like, is this too harsh? Like that was probably too harsh. Like I probably shouldn't. You probably should be able to have your phone back right now. Like, I can't tell you that because then So I think there's that, and then I think with this whole Buck Wild thing, I just wonder, like, I can't say that I didn't go Buck Wild. I have a 13-year-old that I had in college, right? So I like clearly, a little fun there. But I do think that there is, like, it's just like, are PKs really, like, what are we doing? Is it that we're so wild, or is it just that the standard, like the bar was already so high?
Valuable question.
Like, because I feel like if I think back to whatever I was doing or whatever I've heard of other people doing compared to like what everybody else was doing, it's not like,
right.
You're going to college and like, oh, that's definitely a peak. Like, you don't know. Like, yeah, some people are doing the most and some people aren't, but it's not like that's just true of life, right? Like some people just do the most, but some people just don't, so I feel like we kind of get a bad rep. And I feel like, I don't know, it's just weird. Like, what is it really,
Right. But do you think whatever, I guess rebellion is the word that we're using, but it doesn't, I don't know if it has to be rebellion, but I guess it is, because if your parents want a certain thing, but like, did your rebellion or whatever you want to consider it, was it a result of just say like your strict upbringing or anything, or was that just you I'm just older now and I'm just living life,
Yeah. I have to really think about that. I think a part of it was just living life, making mistakes, getting older, trying new things, figuring out yourself. Like we all carry all this stuff we have to figure out. And like, when you're first out the house, like, it's just this crazy time, it's just like, you think you're grown, you're not. You can make all these decisions, but you don't have the like even life knowledge to make half of the decisions. But you also like, you can't ask nobody, and and then there is this whole like perfectionist, like you have all this baggage from being a PK, right? That nobody talks about, that you're trying to sort out. But I think, I don't know, I feel like you can't really blame your parents at that point, because you're making all the choices and decisions for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if your parents were strict or like, you still have kind of the agency to decide how you work that out in your own head, So I do feel like there's that piece too, like, because that's where like, you're grown, like, you can't both be grown and then be talking about your parents bringing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have it both ways. You know?
Come on, Jess.
Right.
So, you know, your daddy's so strict, but you out the house now, so you make your own decisions.
Right.
So, you know, there's that piece too, right? Like, I think there's got to be this ownership piece of just realizing, like, we're all flawed, we're all trying to figure it out, we all got our stuff that we're trying to work out, and like that just happens between like 18 and like 30, like, right? Like,
32,
right.
35,
40, you know, just figure that out.
Right.
Still learning. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like how, you know, I guess I just I push back and say, like, you know, how, like, what's the real issue here? Because I think the narrative has always been strict parents, kids act buck wild, you know, and it's the parents' fault. But like, is that really the story?
Right. That's real.
No, once you're 18, it's you. That's it. Like, no more excuses.
Right.
Nice to have that cutoff right there.
It's you. And I mean, yeah, your parents, how you were up, you know, brought up, it matters. It makes, you know, it's there, like it's a part, but like there is still this piece where you get to decide what you do with that.
Right. Yeah. Got you.
So I think if I was advising myself, if I could go back and talk to the younger me, right? Or if I could talk to PKs, right? Because I think we also use that as a crutch or an excuse a lot of times, or almost like cover, you know?
Right.
To not own our own stuff, you know, it's like, oh, well, I didn't get to do, you know, no.
Right.
I mean, if you want to do it, just say that. You know, like, you just want to do it. You know, you're just curious. That's fine. Just be curious. Like, that's okay.
Right.
But like, I think we just use that. And so I feel like if I could advise younger PKs or go back and advise myself, I think that's what I would tell myself is like, listen, you know, whatever happened when you were growing up, you know, that's what happened when you were growing up. But like, once you cross that threshold, you know, you have to take ownership for your own life. Right. You get to make decisions about what you want to do, and you have to own those choices and decisions. And you can't keep pointing back to my daddy did this, my mommy, I didn't get to do this, I didn't get to do that for the rest of your life. Like that, you can't continue to use that. And other people can't, like that can't be the story.
Gotcha. That's real.
Dr. Williams, what's your
I didn't hear what she said.
Amen and amen. You a doctor of what now, Dr. Williams? Because you just laid us all the way out.
The Cash App offering is available.
The doors of the church are now open. The doors of the church are now open. This is
I'm gonna be like, Reese, I got to go throw some money on the altar.
Okay. Okay. I can't follow that. I can't follow that.
Don't encourage her. She's gonna start plugging her OnlyFans in a second.
No, I don't have one. No, I mean we just need. We need some PK rehab, right? Like, I mean, right? Like we gotta cut it all down and start it all over because this is part of the culture.
Well, you could say the same thing about kids that grew up in military families that moved around a lot and this and that. Like every childhood has its own burden that you have to carry later in life. Because when you're developing, when your mind's developing at that age, like you learn and you assimilate into the society while you're going through this. So it's not that your testament or your struggle is harder than other people's. It's just that it's yours, so it feels harder. So when you talk to somebody about their issues, it always seems hard because it's coming from them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And when you tell somebody about yours, they're like, well, at least you had this and at least you had that. It's grass is greener. So we're all carrying something, you know? And it's not like anybody's carrying anything in their life they don't understand. It's just our job to figure it out over time, you know?
Right.
Yeah. The funny thing is,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring down the vibe.
No, you're good.
No, you're fine.
Jessica, do you want to tell us what type of doctor you are?
Hold on before you do that. What you saying, Trinity?
I said the funny thing is I don't think being a preacher's kid was really that big of a burden. You know, and I mean, along with what Jessica was saying, looking back, I have a 20-year-old and then I have two younger kids. I was stricter, I think personally, on my 20-year-old growing up than what my parents were stricter on me. I mean, I wouldn't even let her have brat dolls on birthday parties and her birthday.
Right.
Well, that's just feminism. That's all that is.
What?
I said that's just feminism right there. Brat dolls are terrible.
I didn't like the attitude that they presented as a doll, and I didn't want my daughter to have that as a role model.
You didn't want her to be like some cholo girlfriend? That's because that's what every brat doll looks like to me. It looks like every girlfriend from the Fast and Furious franchise. You know, just a lot of makeup, a lot of eyeliner, you know.
And I didn't let her wear bikinis. I said, you know, until she was 17, I didn't let her wear bikinis. I didn't see the point in her presenting her body that way.
Right.
You know, and that was my rules, and my daughter never rebelled. So I think personally, you know, and Terry can attest to that. She grew up a very respectable girl and is extremely respectable now. But so I think it's more of you internally and not just because of who your parents were, personally.
Gotcha. No, that's real. That's real. Janessa, what was you asking? Oh, I'm bad.
No, right. Kelly had asked what type of doctor Jessica was, and I said, did you want to say?
Oh.
Did you? I mean, not really, but
not really. Okay, gotcha.
Don't worry about it. Then.
No, it's all good. No, it's all good. It's all good.
I have a PhD in molecular biology.
Oh,
gotcha.
Come through. You just that psychology run through your veins.
Yeah. From her mama.
DNA in the DNA.
From her mama.
Why are you here?
Right through your veins.
Why are you here now? You have a PhD in molecular biology. Go help with the pandemic. Why are you here with us? You should be working.
Well, I do work. I work from home, but I actually don't work in science. So I have a science background, but I work in higher education.
I'm teasing.
Gotcha.
Kelly, DJ is studying psychology too.
Woo woo! It's in your veins, honey. It's in your blood, in your DNA. It is
definitely.
So DJ, what was your, I guess, what's your answer to this same question? Being that you you came much later in reference to like being raised in the whole PK life than Jessica. So like, how did it work out for you in reference to the same question?
So I feel like since I don't really have that retrospect that y'all have,
right?
It's more of, from my perspective, it's more of like a nature and nurture type thing. So it's like,
all right,
hey, actions in, I would say my rebellion came in college because I went to Catholic schools from 3rd grade to senior year of high school.
Gotcha.
So I'm sorry to hear that.
I've had like super strict lifestyle all the way through. So like, they went to Paideia, which is like the super liberal high school. I went to high school where like they measured skirt lengths and made sure the same tie, and like if your tie was crooked, you got like detention, and it was like the people I was around weren't really as rebellious as other people my age, so I really had the opportunity to rebel, and I didn't really know what to do, like, and I would attest some of that to how I was raised. Like I didn't know how to act around girls at all, like
for sure.
Basketball freshman year, and like that one black kid on the team, so obviously all the white girls are like, oh my goodness, and like I'd be like, I don't know how to talk to you. So it was really awkward. I had my first kiss senior year, like I had my first girlfriend senior year, like I just didn't know what to do. Very innocent.
Did she pass the skirt length test? Did your girlfriend pass it? Did she pass the test, or was she?
Yeah, she was. My parents liked her. She was good.
Gotcha.
But then, like, when I got to college, it was like a whole different ball game because I was in a different state.
Right.
I was 6 hours away. They couldn't just bop up. Here's the Bible, you know. It was a lot more freedom. Now, like, that was one of the reasons I wanted to go out of state, is because like I wanted to find myself, and I had kind of like we've been talking about this PK culture, like it's been forced on us so much that like that's all we kind of know, at least at this age.
Right.
And so when I realized that it's really subjective, and so like what I'm doing is not as bad as what like Becky is doing, and what Becky is doing as bad as like, Travis is doing. Like, I've seen like a girl on her first night in college like got blacked out drunk and had to go to the hospital and get her something. Kind of wild. Compared to my first night of college, I had like one shot and I was just chilling.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no!
Like, you had alcohol?
Not the cotton candy Fanta.
Oh no! No, but I think that the point that you're making, I think, is good, which is how like the fact that we internalize this view of like right and wrong.
Right.
Like I think we judge ourselves in a way, like, you know, like I bet if we were to say, and I'm not, no promises here, but like if we were to say, okay, we went buck wild. If we were to say, all right, everybody, like write out, you know, what buck wild meant to you.
Right.
Like I wonder how buck wild. I'm not. Let's not do this. You know? I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
But yeah. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, DJ. But I think you're making a good point. Like, is it that we were that crazy, or did we just perceive ourselves as being so crazy because we even internalized and we're carrying around this standard of how we should behave, and the fact that we were behaving probably kind of normally for college students or being out the house, but it felt like I'm out here crazy, you know.
Right. Well, better just to go on because it's been gnawing at me ever since you know, because all these stories have a common theme, which is getting into trouble, you know, getting outside that umbrella, getting outside the parents' umbrella, the church's umbrella. How much of that though is good, you know, to experience different things, to get in a little trouble, like Joe Lewis said, like good trouble, you know, like how much of that is character developing? No, I'm saying how much does that build your character to where it's actually important for you to become a well-rounded individual as you get older, because you don't want to be the kid that goes to college that doesn't know what a clitoris is. Like, then you're the weirdo and you just get cast out. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That was so
saying, like, that's the truth. That is the truth. I know that because I was the weirdo. So
yeah, I agree.
It's not good. You don't get friends that way.
Whoa.
I feel like you have to like I have plenty of friends in high school whose like parents, when they were graduating or whatever, would let them like drink at dinner so that they knew how to drink responsibly in college rather than being passed out at a party. And
or used to smoke pot with their kids.
You didn't have that.
Right.
So you don't have this like knowledge or this training so that when you do go out into the world, when you're outside of the umbrella, you have areas you don't know when to stop or what to do.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but here's the catch-22 with that. Again, now I'm putting on my mom teenager hat is, you know, like, because I'm like, okay, would I want my 13-year-old drinking with me at dinner, or even when she's older, possibly when she's like older. But I think the one thing that all of our parents gave us is something to come back to, right?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, we might have fell left, but like we knew, you know, like it's inside of you, you know, and so I also worry, like, okay, if I'm too loose, if I'm too lax, if I'm too buddy, if I'm too, you know, whatever, let's hang out, let's, then like, what does my daughter have to come back to?
Right.
You know, like when she does fall, if we've been drinking together since she was 15.
Right.
Like, you know, like, and I don't know where that balance is. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know.
No, that's real. We can revisit that, because that's a very good point. Because it's just like if you, and I'm gonna let you go after this, but it's just like, you know, nobody, and I don't have kids, but I'm sure nobody wants their kid to, like, you know, fall out of a tree and break their arm or fall off their bike and scrape their knee. But at the same time, if you never let that kid experience that, like, how much of a regular human will they ever be? Like, they have to know.
No, they're going to be a scared person that's fearful of everything. Like you have to touch you got to touch the stove eventually, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Reese.
My parents had a very much like, don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove. Fine, touch the stove. And then I figured it out on my own, you know?
Right.
That's the way it felt to me.
Go ahead, Reese.
No, as far as being strict, I mean, I just think, I mean, I was a regular teenager and even in college, I mean, we just had a good time. Like going back to what Jessica said, DJ said, Trinity said, I mean, it's just, I didn't really rebel. I was, you know, I definitely was about like, not necessarily being perfect, but just setting myself up for the future. I think a lot of high school was about, you know, this was only temporary. You need to make sure that you're good for college. So it was about, you know, being active and, you know, making sure you have good grades. But a lot of that carries over into college and just into life, because not only is it increasing, you know, your interactions with human beings, understanding how to work with others, but it also makes you a very, I think, accountable and responsible person too. So that way, when you become an adult, you're not this lazy mooch, or you're not trying to get over on people or take advantage of other people because you didn't learn those basic skill sets. So I think a lot of things that my mom encouraged me and dad encouraged me to do was really just for basic skill sets. So yeah, there may have been some things that I couldn't do, or even like I remember, Kelly, did you go with us? But when we went to go see when Usher's Confession album came out, and we went to his album release party, and it was at like the Velvet Room, remember? And like Velvet Room was like this popping club, and my mom like dropped me in my, I don't think it was like beyond them, but my mom had dropped us off, but she wanted to go in first to make sure that it was like kid appropriate, because we was definitely like 15, 16, about to go into some definitely, you know, 30 and over type situation. And you know what I'm saying? So in situations like that, it was like, at first she was like, Mom, you're being lame. But then like, now you're like, I get why you went in there, because we was definitely 15 and they were definitely about to pop off after 9. So the lady was like, yeah, from 6 to 9, it's for, you know, teenage girls, but after 9, make sure you get your kids, because then the regular crew is coming in here, you know, with Usher. And so I think like in those situations, and even like with me and Kelly, like when we were going to concerts and stuff, like her cousin would drive us, or they would start having other people who were a little bit older than us drive us, because we wanted to be grown. We didn't want our parents to drop us off, you know, at the Phillips Arena downtown or whatever. But also making sure like, okay, I'm gonna give you just enough so that way you know, you're a little inch, you know, to have a little bit of fun, but also like, you know, and I also feel like I didn't necessarily feel like I had to go crazy. It was just like, you know, she gave me enough. I can go to the concert. We can have floor seats and we could sit close and get backstage passes. I mean, I feel like I was living a life. I felt like me and my friends, we were having a good time. So by the time we got to college and we were, of course, drinking and getting into everything else, I mean, failed classes, had to take summer school. My mom made me pay for it in student loans, you know, stuff like that. Like that was a lot of, you know, just, hey, like, I told you I covered 4 years. You wanted to play around for a semester and you know, and mess up in 2 because you wanted to stop going to class because you was partying. Well, here you go, having to take summer school for the next 3 years, and you got it. You know, so that put responsibility, again, touching the stove, put responsibility on me that now I got to take out student loans to pay for expensive behind Auburn, you know, and like, and, you know, make sure that I'm covering myself for the summer, because she was like, she's not doing it because of the fact that I made that decision. So I don't think it really went into like PK stuff. It was just more about like what your parents, at least for me, and I could test for most of y'all. I couldn't test for Trinity and Terry. I know the rest of y'all parents. I think it was more just about like, you know, what their lessons were, and then trying to impart that onto us, but also not be super crazy. Because I know me and Kelly was out there at 16. I mean, we weren't out there, but we was driving. We was going to eat with friends. You know, Kelly had a little bit of a later curfew than I had. I used to be jealous. She used to come home at 12. I had to come home at 10. But you know, whatever. It was all good. Your mom said come home at 12. My mom had to come home at 10.
You know what's funny, Risa? What's funny is I don't have to be told that you and Rudy are related, right? Because both of you, well, as soon as you get off on something, you're like, off to the races. Here we go. You ready?
Right. Oh yeah, no, we talk fast.
And I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you real quick.
But Risa, another thing you can speak to is because, and I don't know if anybody else really caught it as you were talking, like you were saying she a lot, and she being our mother is not what qualifies us to be preacher's kids. You know what I'm saying? It is our dad. So like, believe it or not, our dad, the preacher, was the least strict one between the two. You know what I'm saying? So just kind of right. So I mean, you could just kind of speak to that.
I'll speak to that. So like even in college, like my dad is very loose. Like our parents divorced, and so we lived primarily with my mom, and then Rudy had moved to Florida with my dad. But even my dad was in Atlanta, and of course he came to all my graduations and stuff. And definitely in college is more when he was in Florida.
I would call my dad about everything. Every football player who liked me, Kelly knows, every basketball player who tried to holler at me, because my dad was a football player in college in Florida. You know, he went pro and then he tore his leg, and here we are. Anyway, so but I would call him and be like, hey, Dad, like this football player hit me up. This is what he's saying. My dad would be like, all right, let me let you know. He's just trying to, mash, or like he actually likes you, or just know that you're just one in rotation. Like, yeah, he may take you to the game, but there's another girl, waiting in the car. Just like he would give me knowledge. And honestly, it helped me run game back. I'm not going to lie. So I was walking around a little bit like, oh, you said that. I know what that really means. Right. Don't worry, you're not gonna play this girl right here. And I was, running that game for a good 4 years, for my 4 years in college. And so, like I said, he was definitely the least strict. I could call him, like when I would run out all the money my mom gave me, definitely call my dad. Hey, Dad, I'm about to go to Atlanta, see Kelly at Spelman. Right. And you shoot over, and he, okay, let me drop it off real quick, and you make your trip. But he definitely, or even like if it came to like smoking weed or drinking, he definitely took that a little bit easier than my mom. He'll be like, okay, like just make sure you don't want to get too crazy. You don't want to be in a Q party. And he said, don't drink the punch, make sure you bring your own drink. You don't want to be in situations that leave you as a liability or something could happen. You always want to be in situations where you can still read the room, control the situation. And he's like, but have a good time. And that's what
Right.
Can you slow down?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I say we definitely talk fast.
I am struggling to keep up.
Sorry. All I was saying was my dad he's least strict. So even to this day, I could call him on literally anything. And I was thinking even in college, whether it's about guys or drinking or smoking or whatever the situation, or literally whatever trouble we were getting into or I was getting into, I could call him about it and he would just walk me through the best way to maneuver through this situation. So it wasn't like don't drink, don't smoke, don't talk to this guy. It was, if you talk to this guy, this is what this particular guy, what he's saying, what he's looking for. Yes. If you're drinking, make sure that you drink this type of alcohol, stay away from other stuff. If you're smoking, don't smoke anything laced. Smoke with people who know what they're doing. Honestly, if you can smoke with a drug dealer, they definitely know what really just imparting wisdom about like, oh, drug dealers are who it is bad, but drug dealers are who are trying to get you to do it. Okay, like actually you kind of probably trust them a little bit more because they know their product, stuff like that. Like you want people who are just knowledgeable in any situation that you're in. Yeah.
The quick answer, basically, what you're saying is like he was being more educational and less judgmental.
For sure. Like to the point where my friends were calling him. Yeah.
I had the very same experience. That's exactly what it was. Because the experience that I had with my father was always less of judgmental, don't do this, don't do that, or you're going to hell, you're doing this. He would just try to impart wisdom. He would say like, well, this is going to happen if you do this. This is going to happen if you do that. Just try and be smart, be this, be that, use your head. Right. Like I totally feel that. That's the same exact perspective that I have.
But I think what's so unique about me in recent situations, because like we definitely had that that the same, just say PK pressure, if you will, or just kid at church pressure, whatever like that. Like I said, but it came from our mom, who wasn't, she ain't never been a preacher, pastor, nothing like that. But like she definitely, like if it was somebody who was gonna be burning New Kids on the Block shirts or throwing CDs in the trash, was my mama. You know what I'm saying? Like that was gonna be her. You know what I'm saying? Like she was the person who, like, anytime you want to go anywhere, oh, I gotta see how my spirit feeling. We like, man, fuck your spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like we are sick of this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why does your spirit have to control everything I do in life? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, so that's that was really our reality, like I said. But we didn't really get it from the preacher side, and even when I moved to Florida with my dad, and that's when he had started the church. Even then, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's because of maybe just kind of how he is or whatever like that. But like I never. Like a lot of my preacher's kids stories are different than when it comes down to like when I usually talk to Kellie, Janessa, and Terry, because I dealt with the same, just say like pressures, but it never came from my dad's side. It always came from, like, even if it came down to me doing something on Facebook or whatever like that, like it was my mom, the one like calling me saying like, are you sure, some people may see you or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying? Like my dad never brought it up, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really sure why, but that's just kind of how he is. So we kind of dealt with, I guess, the same pressure, but just like I said, just not from our, I guess, father's position.
Preacher, yeah.
You know, per se. Like for me, just being a preacher kid, it was just more or less just me always having to be there and be active, like playing the drums and the organ and cleaning up and opening the church and moving chairs. And, you know, it was just kind of more or less that stuff. So, and I want to ask y'all one final question that Janessa had. She had 3 of them, but it'll take us forever to try to get through all of these.
I don't think we calculated right for the time on this.
Right. Well, it's just
Part
it's,
2.
right.
I want them to come back.
That's facts. That's facts. We can definitely save it. But for our guest, long story short, does your parents' lifestyle, particularly the pastors, did that ever make you either want to or even feel like you had to follow in their footsteps in reference to either, like, you know, joining the ministry, preaching, you know, whatever the case may be? Like, was your parents' lifestyle, did that ever make you want to or even feel like you had to try to either go in that similar direction, if not you know, duplicate what they've done? Whoever wants to go.
I'll start. Yeah.
No, I mean the guest Terry, not
oh, okay.
Not
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I can start. So yes and no. I think, you know, a lot of you know, I went to graduate school at Princeton. So I moved to New Jersey and lived there for 7 years. And I think that was just really one of the most transformative things. I went to Spelman first, and that was good, but it's right down the street. Yes. But then I went to Princeton. So I was all the way in New Jersey. And that was totally different. Nobody had heard of my dad.
Right.
Like nobody. So when I first started going to church, I did end up marrying my husband was working in the church. And I think, and I talk to him about this all the time. I think, you know, I felt comforted by that, you know, because it was familiar to me. You know, I don't think it was that I was necessarily seeking that out, but I think that there was just a part of like him being a part of a church that made me feel like, oh yeah, this is what I'm used to.
Right.
He works currently as a financial advisor, so he's totally in a different field right now.
Right.
So, you know, I'm not like a preacher's wife or anything like that.
Right.
But I think that like defining my own identity in those 7 years that I lived away from New Jersey, Atlanta, away from my parents, away from my church, people knowing me. I think it really helped me to just figure out who I am, right? So like, even when I think about who I am right now, I actually don't really see myself as a PK, you know? Right. I don't see like my value, my worth isn't really rooted in like who my parents are in the same way it was when I was younger, you know? So it's totally just transformed. Like when I was coming on this podcast, I was telling my husband, like, man, I'm about to tap into the PK side of me because I don't even see myself in that way, right? I see myself as a wife and a mother, and I have my own career, and I have, you know, all these other things. So that's why I say yes and no. I think it takes time to separate yourself, I think, from that identity. It's a whole identity. It's a whole thing, right? Like it's really all consuming until you like, and it takes time to tease. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's like something that's really intertwined. It takes time to really unwind all those different pieces from the different parts of your life. And so, but I think once you do so, then it's easy to kind of look back without some of those same like resentments and some of that same heaviness, and like kind of appreciate what your parents had for what it is and what it wasn't. Right. But then see yourself kind of for who you are, you know, just on your own, you know.
Right.
And so at that point, like right now in my life, like I'm not trying to replicate anything.
Right.
You know? I live my own life. So,
right.
Yeah. But it took time to get there.
Quick question for you, Jessica. When it came down to I'm not gonna say choosing your husband, like, but like marrying your husband, like, did something on the inside of you have just say like a sense of I don't say security, but like just, I guess, being okay with like being with him because like he was in the church, and like you felt like that would help like your parents like stamp of approval, or like if he would have been something totally different outside the church, never heard of God. Do you think like would you have felt differently because of like their approval type thing, or would you just move forward anyways?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that did play a factor in the beginning. Yeah, I felt like I needed to be with somebody who was Christian. You know, I felt like, you know, yeah, I think all that did play a factor. Again, you know, that programming is deep. It runs deep, you know. And so like, you know, it was right there. Like that's, you know, it's just like going back to kind of this, is that you're indoctrinated with, you know, this.
No.
Oh no.
Oh, and that's the worst picture ever to be
Always the
on.
worst face.
That's like you pause the movie to go to the bathroom.
Wait, say it again, Jess.
Yeah, we missed the last part. We missed the last part.
So yeah, so I think that indoctrination, I was still carrying that with me. I hadn't actually taken the time to like decide for myself that this is what I want to believe because it's what I want to believe. Like, you know, I hadn't done any of that. I didn't even know I should do that, right? Like I'm just running on what I know.
Right.
It worked out for me. My husband's a great guy, you know.
Right.
But I do, you know, if I could go back and do it all over again, like if I knew now if I knew then what I knew now, I can't say I would have approached that situation the same way.
Right.
I don't know. That's kind of a weird thing to say.
No, you're right on point. That was the
Love
thing
you,
that got
though.
me first. That was the thing that got me first. Once I got out of the life was the indoctrination, because the first thought that I had was, okay, well, what if I was born in Syria? Would I still be a Christian? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or would I be Muslim? Because you tend to just absorb the environment. Like DJ said earlier, environment, or I'm sorry, what was the term you used?
Nature and nurture.
Nature versus nurture. That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. So you just kind of go along with what's around you. So that was the first thing that really started springing me out, was that whole, you know, indoctrination, just because that was the life I'd known. So that's the life I'm going to have, you know?
Right. Okay. You other three, Risa, Trinity, DJ, y'all want to follow footsteps?
What's the question? Jessica, do you live in Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay. So do you attend your father's church?
I do not. That's a great question. And that was a choice that my husband and I made together. We certainly visit, but it was important for us when we came back here that we picked our own church. And I think my father respected that, you know, because he also has had to make decisions like that in his own life. You know, for example, my mother, you know, when she got married to my father, attended Thankful with him, you know, as opposed to like him attending the church that she was going to.
Right.
You know? So.
Right.
Gotcha.
Good question, Kelly. Look at you stirring the pot. I see you.
Thank God, it's been all on me. So
come on, we can talk.
Right.
But I will say, though, that could go deep, because I don't know how people perceive that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that's a tricky thing to walk in. That's, you know, I've had to operate in my lane and just kind of, you know, it's not an issue with my family. My you know, it's nothing, but you know how people are.
Right.
And so it's a lot of ways people could interpret that. You know, but I've had to just own the fact that I don't owe anybody an explanation. You know, my parents know, my family know where I stand, and it is what it is. You know, whatever you think is none of my business.
You gotta be your own person. That's the end of it.
Jessica is preaching. Okay. Are you going to?
She got a mama, her daddy, a psychology, the anointing. She got all of
I'm pretty sure my father would trade me for Jessica at this point. I'm 100%. Trinity's agreeing. 100%. She's a doctor. She goes to church.
Jessica, you need your own podcast.
Right.
Life lessons. It's good. It's good.
Yeah,
It's
girl.
good.
I
is.
want a
just absorb
podcast
it.
with
I'm
Jessica
absorbing.
where we just talk about philosophy all day. That just sounds awesome.
Look,
Yeah.
it's taking a long time to get it.
Okay. So
You
so-
tapped back in today, just to let you know. You tapped in.
so-
If she had to tap in, she tapped in.
So same question, Trinity, Reese, DJ, whoever wants to answer in reference to following the footsteps, and you can even answer in reference to you can end it in reference to like I don't know if y'all live where y'all dads are pastoring, but like do you still go to the church, or if you had to make that decision one day living back in the city, would you still attend, or would you try to find your own a separate church just to do your own thing?
Well, I don't. Well, my dad doesn't have a church. But I, before COVID, I attended church. Now there's 2 different churches I attend online. But I don't know if I would attend my dad's church. I mean, I like my father's preaching. With your other question on if I would see myself being in the church, like doing ministry, no. I've never seen myself, never saw myself doing that. That's just not my calling.
Right.
Never saw myself doing that. And my father's never been the one to pressure us to do that.
Right.
The only thing I would say my father's always pressured us to do is, pressured me. I can't say this about Terry because I'm the only one that has children, is that I need to take my kids to church more.
Right. Gotcha.
He definitely wanted me to follow in his footsteps. I know that, at least that's the way it felt. Like it always felt like he definitely wanted me to take up the mic.
Well, that, like I said, I can't speak for you.
Which I did, but just for comedy instead of preaching.
Right.
Well, nobody wants you to do comedy.
Oh, deep burn. Deep burn from the family. Wow.
Man,
Shots fired.
I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah. That's what you get from church folks right there. That's what you get. That's the kind of
that's
love you
family.
get from church
That's
That's
family.
That's family.
That's family.
I
It's
know.
a family
That's
burn.
family.
That's
That's family burn.
I'm teasing. Y'all relax.
It was family love. Just
Right.
kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No,
That's
but
funny.
I mean, when COVID's over, I'd love to go back to the actual church I attend in person.
Right.
But in the meantime, I found a really nice church online. That's not in this state. But yeah, I mean, as far as my faith, I lost my faith for a long time.
Okay.
Just things in my life, and things I went through. But recently, probably in the last 2 years, I have rediscovered it. And I think that's good that I found it on my own.
Right.
It has nothing to do with my dad. It's got nothing to do with him talking to me. It was something that I did on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's nice that it was nothing that was pressured onto me. So,
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
I'll agree with that. He never pressured either one of us. So.
Yeah.
All right. What you got, DJ? Oh, Reese, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
It's fine. I was just gonna say for me, I haven't lived in the same city with my dad since high school, senior year in high school. But I mean, I think I would visit, but probably do my own thing. I do watch his Facebook lives or like repeats or get like cliff notes from him, or even like I'll call him like during the week and like, just talk to him about stuff. And I feel like I get my whole sermon or just life lessons really then. And then as far as being pressured, nah, I don't think so. And then is that your only question?
Well, and not even so much necessarily like pressure, but did you just ever feel like you wanted to just like follow?
God, no,
either his
I don't think.
or mom or whoever.
No, I'm not for the church. I mean, I'm a person who could come and help out like in activities or events. That's more my lane. But to be caught up in all that church friction, like I think even Jessica and Trinity both spoke on or touched on was just about like getting to know and pretty much getting to your own self, the root of yourself, and like getting your own relationships, just who you are, clearly like what your relationship is with Christ or with God, and coming to that by yourself. And like Jessica said, like kind of like unwinding a lot of that, even like what you learned at church. You realize some of it was accurate, and then some of it was just kind of like opinions that was kind of manipulated to make it sound like, or whatever. So really, as you're coming to your own, especially in this thing called life as an adult, I mean, it's rough. So it's like, I don't have time to kind of go by what your opinion was that I should have done. I need to go by like what I'm currently doing now, what was really taught. If love was taught, let's talk about love. Let's not talk about how you felt I should love or what, or whatever the case may be. So I think a lot of that happened for me as well, as I think they both was alluding to, just like kind of relearning, everything on your own and kind of unwinding some of the things that you were taught, whether it was by your parents or a lot of it was just like being around church folks and other friends who have parents and, their parents saying things or making little comments. I remember I definitely had people's parents make comments. Oh, even just going to Auburn, just being for things like that. Everybody else understands.
I understand.
I feel like I'm watching a Micro Machines commercial. Slow down.
I'm with you, Risa. I hear you.
Janessa got it. DJ got it.
Don't listen to him.
With passion. All that.
Don't listen to
Coming
him.
out.
Trinity got it. Me and Trinity are on the same page.
Don't listen to him.
I'm just saying, slow down. It's so.
No. So what I was just saying was a lot of it was just relearning, what the appropriate way and just having your own one relationship clearly with God, but then just being your own person in this world and not letting even whether it was your parents' thoughts or, like I said, a lot of it sometimes was outside your parents, like just church people or your friends' parents who was in the church or pastors, not letting their thoughts or their opinions kind of cloud what you think you should do, not control what you felt like you should do. So that's what I was saying in a nutshell before you told me to slow down.
No, you're absolutely right.
Don't listen to him.
So quick.
Go ahead, DJ.
What are the questions?
I just want DJ to talk
What
more
were
because
you
I know he
drinking when you
doesn't
took
want
that
to.
first shot?
He just wants to sit there.
Right.
But I want to hear more from DJ because he doesn't want to talk.
Right. Yeah. No. So basically, just did you ever feel like you either wanted to or had to follow in your parents' footsteps, and then also just going into your adulthood, do you see yourself like, just say remaining a member of your parents' church, or would you try to like find your own thing?
Okay. So there was a time that I used to want to be like my dad. I guess like a pastor. I shoot when I was about 5 or 6.
Right.
I want to sit in the seat on the pulpit. The pulpit. That's the pulpit. Word. Yeah. And I sat up there once, and it was really scary.
Right.
And then like as I started getting older, people kept telling me like, "Oh, you're gonna be a pastor when you grow up." And when they started like taking my choice away, that's when I started saying, "No, I'm not."
Right.
Do it, not me, not making the choice.
Right.
And so when that started to happen, I definitely started distancing myself from like the idea of wanting to become pastors.
Gotcha.
My girlfriend actually asked me this question too, because we were talking about that. And I could say in the future, I don't know what my plans are. Like if I'm going to be heavily involved in the church, I know I'm going to be a part of one.
Right.
Probably not my dad's, because very old there. They operate on a very well-aged system that will not be changing anytime soon. Yeah, it's true. That's just very old.
It's hilarious.
I like that.
But like, as in terms of just like being around my dad so much, like he drove me to school every day. We talk about just what it means to be a pastor. It's a lot more than just talking to people. Like the church is a business. You got to learn the ins and outs of it. And it's interesting, but it's not something that I'm like gravitating towards now. But it's definitely what I would like run away from if that's what I'm called to do. In terms of going to the church in the future, just not my scene right now. Like I've been when I was in college. Yeah, when I was in college, like rebelling or whatever. I think it was important, or something that I thought was important, was to like surround myself with people like me in a sense, and they're like in their faith to some degree. So friend works at her church. She's like a teacher for the Sunday school.
Gotcha.
I have other friends who are like parts of youth groups or whatever who like volunteer at their church too. So it's like while I'm like going out and partying or whatever, like I always am around the right group of people for me in my opinion. And so it's kind of like we were talking about earlier, talking about how you like the PK life is like rooted in us to a degree. Like I still feel like I have my church foundation. I still feel like my faith is important to me. It's just not being forced on me as when I was living in Atlanta before I went to college.
Gotcha.
It's what helps make you who you are, but it isn't who you are, right? It's a pillar in your life, but it's not your whole life, right?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're getting at?
Absolutely.
I feel the same way.
And DJ, let me ask you this just more specifically about, so when you had the thought when you were like 5 or whatever like that, and then it switched over once people kind of took the choice away from you. When you were younger, did you have that, just say that thought because of the glamour of it? You know what I'm saying? Like you just kind of thought it was like something cool because like this is what my dad does type of thing, or was this something like you just really was like, I guess, thinking about? And then once people started like forcing it on you, was that like the only reason that made you say no, or was it you just also didn't think that's just what you were, I guess, called to do?
So the first part, I think it was just because I looked up to my dad a lot, and I still do. Like, it might not be in a pastoral way, but like I know for a fact that a big thing for him is his legacy. It's the same thing. Like, in the end, I want to like look back and have a bunch of people know who I am, and like not necessarily my name, but like what I'm doing. So I'd say it was mainly just me emulating him or like wanting to be like him, rather than a calling per se.
Gotcha.
And once people started telling me that that's what I was gonna do, it felt like even less of a calling then.
Right.
Where like people were just telling me what to do rather than me feeling led to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think that whole glamour piece, like most PKs would want to be a pastor because of glamour. Like, it's glamorous for everybody else.
Right.
But I feel like when you're inside of it, you know it's not that glamorous.
Right.
I remember when I went to New Jersey, I used to go to church and sit in the back. I used to sit on the back row, and I loved it. It made me so happy. And even when I started dating my husband and he was working at the church, and so they were like, "Oh, you got to come sit in the front." And I was like, "Oh, like you don't understand." But it was like, "Don't you want to sit in the front?" Like, you know, almost as if that was like the most incredible honor. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, trust me, you know, like I don't need that. I don't want that. You know?
Right.
So I think outside looking in, it's like, ooh, first family, you know.
Right. For sure.
When you're in it.
Boy, we couldn't be more opposite. Because DJ said when he got to sit up on stage, he was like, I don't want to be here. Everybody's looking at me. I was like, everybody's looking at me. Awesome.
Right.
Like, I love sitting on stage.
Right.
Loved it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, with what he said, I can tell you, I have 2 little boys, and both of them at one point has said that they want to do what my husband does. So I think a lot of it has to do with boys wanting to be like their dads.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you ask them now, neither one of them want to do what my husband does.
Right.
They want to be Iron Man.
One of them wants to be a wrestler, and the other one wants to be a dinosaur now. So you know.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be a dinosaur right now.
Right.
But I did.
They want to do what my husband does. So, you know, I think I want to be like dad and not necessarily, I want to do what dad does. I just want to be my dad.
For sure.
So
I feel that because like I felt it my whole life. I felt like the pressure to follow in his footsteps, the pressure to go and preach and whatnot. And I knew I could do it. But I never got tapped. God didn't speak to me. It's not, you have to be called for that. Otherwise, if you do it and you're not called, it's just lip service. You're just you're doing comedy based on a book at that point. Like it's just it's not right. It's if anything, it's blasphemous to go up and speak for the Lord when you haven't been touched to do so. That's the way I feel it.
Right. What you gonna say, Janessa?
I was just gonna say mine was opposite. Like I never felt like I wanted to be a pastor, felt to be called, but I told my dad in a career that was not pastoring. Like I went to Georgia Tech because my dad was Tech. Like I was an engineering major because he was an engineering major. So there is a level of like wanting to be like my dad in a sense, just not in a pastor sense.
Right.
That's not for me unless an angel comes down and says something to me like
right.
not my ministry.
Gotcha. What you saying, Reese?
No, that's actually, I was going to ask that question, but Janessa said I was going to say, is that something that kind of like grows with people just in general, wanting to be like their father and or mother? And then when Janessa said her just going to Georgia Tech and having that engineering major because of her dad, like kind of emulating him, I was like interesting. Because I think I was just wondering if there's still pieces of all of us that still want to be like your parents in some type of way, you know, that never grows even as we're all from 20, you know, going up. And so I just think that's interesting. It's just a common thread. So that was it.
But I'm not an engineer now. I did have come to Jesus moment and figured out what I was.
Right.
It happens.
You mean you found your individuality?
I did.
Yeah.
All right.
Gotcha. Well, definitely, we're definitely gonna have to do a part 2. In the words of Kellie Lee, because it's even as y'all are talking, I think of more questions, but I mean, we'll be here 5
I thought
hours
it was you myself.
trying to get them all in. You know, but we'll work it out. But I definitely think this was very, very dope. This was very good to get other people's, or our siblings, I should say, perspectives, and even just how they saw it. So man, I really appreciate y'all.
Good idea.
Thanks, guys.
DJ, I really appreciate y'all coming. This was good. We definitely got to bring you guys back. And like I said, do a part 2, maybe even a part 3. It may go deeper than this. So I guess before we get out of here, I'll go in order on my screen, and I'll just let everybody who's, even if you're sharing a box, y'all will just go at the same time. It's in reference to just, if you got anything you want to promote or plug, whether it's a social media, something you're selling, a website, or if you just want to just say, some parting words. You don't have to get followed on Instagram or whatever, but either way, I'll give you each person a chance to do so. So in my top left is the Rowlands that are sharing the screen. So DJ and Janessa, y'all can go ahead and go first.
I'm going to plug my Cash App.
I love that.
That's like a 20-year-old.
I just say
looking for dough.
About to go back to college. If y'all want to drop like $5, that'd be great. DEX 225. That's on the real talk, like real talk though. If NAPs are listening, you gotta go figure out who you are. It's time. Right. If you're like looking at colleges, this is the time that you need to distance yourself, whether that be 5 miles, whether that be 5 hours, 10 hours.
Right.
You gotta figure out who you are. Don't let the church determine, what you're gonna do your life. But definitely don't leave what you have inside.
Right. That's real. That's real.
Good job, DJ.
The Rowland kids showing out today, ain't they?
I told y'all the other podcast that like everybody's great speakers but me. But I just want to say thank you.
What was that Cash App again, DJ? What was that Cash App?
DEX 225.
DEX 225. Gotcha.
Yes, sir. Dexter, yeah, DEX.
And you guys are twins. Can I tell you that? You guys
Yeah.
I know you hear it all the time. Yes.
Yeah.
I did not think that we looked alike till we got older, and I can kind of see it.
Right.
Twins. Yeah. Y'all cute.
But no, I just want to thank my siblings for coming. We haven't done anything like this, and it was fun to hear Jessica and DJ's perspectives on things.
Yeah.
Because we kind of came, DJ's so much younger than us. me and Jessica have similar experiences, and even in it's different. But DJ's experience is like way different. I honestly feel like my parents were way lax with him.
Right.
Anyway, so when he's talking about feeling strict or whatever, I'm like, DJ, you had an iPhone in college. Jessica and I didn't get a flip phone until college.
Right.
You're the 5S though.
Right.
Like, yeah, 5S. We have the iPhone 11. Like, what am I gonna do with that?
Find me on Instagram at JRiana _, JRIANA _ and I will accept you. Is public, all of that. Follow me.
Gotcha. And then I guess to my right is Trinity. It's on you, ma'am.
You got something to promote, Trey? You got a show coming up?
Nothing to promote. Unless someone wants to take one of my kids. I mean,
Right?
I'll take the dinosaur.
Grab the dinosaur, right?
you want to take the dinosaur?
I'm just curious to see how that works.
I mean, Terry can tell you which one that one is. You can have him for sure. I don't really have anything to promote, so I'll promote Terry, the comedian.
Terry Wayne Comedy on all social media platforms. Also, as I always do, I'm going to add a charity. Please go on and drop a few bucks to Autism Speaks. That's autismspeaks.com. Go ahead and drop a few bucks on there while you're at it. It does good for your own community. You don't even know it.
That's the dinosaur.
That's the dinosaur. It is. I wasn't going to say it, but it is the dinosaur. Yes.
That's my dinosaur. No, but it was really fun to be on here. I've never been on a podcast. If you could tell.
No, you did. No, you were wonderful. You did fine. No,
you got to work on your background a little bit. No, help.
Well, I always talk about somebody's background, camera position.
Right.
Janessa, Trinity, now you know how to make a background. You've got the background on this podcast.
Really loud.
Yeah, no. You were good. No, you were good. You were good.
No, but it was a lot of fun. So, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Kellie Lee, it's on you.
That's me. All right. So as always, Princess Kel 51 on Instagram, but it's private. So request me. You may or may not get an accept or not, but hey, try your luck. This was definitely probably my most favorite podcast to date.
For sure.
I had so much fun tonight. Thank you, Jessica, Trinity, DJ, Risa. It was amazing. I say come back every week. But no, definitely part 2, 3, 4, 5. This was awesome. Janessa, this was your idea, right?
Yes.
Janessa, awesome idea.
It was a good idea, Janessa.
This was phenomenal.
Yeah, phenomenal. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Jessica, it's on you.
It's been great to be on here. It's still kind of tripping me out to see, especially like Rudy and Risa and Kelly. Like I feel like I'm back in time, but y'all are all grown, so it's weird. So, it's just good to be here. I wish that there was something like this when I was coming up, and I think, I think that the point that I leave, I don't have anything to promote. It's just that. Being a PK will always have an impact on your life, but you can never, ever, ever use it as an excuse, And so I think that's just so critical. It only defines you if you want it to, and it only defines you how you want it to.
Right.
So I think, just taking back that ownership and self-agency is so important, especially as you make that transition, into adulthood. And I think the sooner that you're able to do that, it doesn't mean you're not gonna make any bad decisions, because you will, but at least they'll just be your own bad decisions, so I think that would just be the piece of advice that I would leave with the people.
Gotcha. Nice. Wonderful. You've been dropping gems all night. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of time to think quarantine,
Yeah.
Nobody to talk to.
I wasn't this deep a year ago.
No. That's that COVID. That's that COVID. COVID time.
Hilarious. Go ahead, Reese.
Oh, I was just thinking as Jessica was talking, I was like, she definitely have a podcast called Words of Wisdom with Dr. Williams because
I'm in there.
the knowledge you've been dropping just on all levels, the psychology
in there.
I've been just absorbing. It's been amazing. But no, this podcast, it's been fun. It's been amazing. Like I said, I've definitely been watching you guys. This was definitely a lot of fun. I think in general, like Jessica was saying, I think it's just good information in general, especially for PKs or even just kids who grow up in the church whose parents may not be pastors, but may definitely be very active in the church. It's very informative to see all of us kind of blossom under that umbrella. As far as me, you can follow me personally on Instagram, Risa_G. However, I would prefer if you follow my business page, which is brand new, but it's doing good. It's called Non-Tradition Nail. It's like an online marketplace for all things nail. So nail polish, dip powders, gel polish, press-ons, everything. It's Non-Tradition Nail, NONTRADITIONAIL. That's it on Instagram.
I needed some nails. And I'm not traditional. So.
Exactly. Thanks for having me, you all.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And just a PS, because Rudy kept saying that that's his sister. That is my best friend.
That's her best friend.
Oh yeah, me and Kellie were best friends.
That's my best friend. That's my best friend. All right, I'm done.
And we're like real best friends. We're not fake best friends. We're like literally know each other's all the details we've been talking about. We could really go into real detail about each other.
Okay,
you
guys,
know the secret.
We get it. We get it. All right. We get it.
They hate
I needed a piece. I needed a sibling. I needed something today.
Right.
That's my sister. Like I needed. Give me a moment.
DJ.
I got you. No, like I said, this has definitely been the best episode so far to me. I mean, just hearing you guys' perspective and just even just a lot, man. This was really, really good. I'm excited to bring you guys back. And when this is up, I'll be sure to make sure you guys get the full episode so you can watch it back and cringe at yourself or however you feel about seeing yourself on camera or whatever. But nonetheless, man, I appreciate anybody who watches, who tuned in. Check us out. We post this every single Monday. The Worst One podcast. You can find it on Spotify. Make sure I say that so Kelly won't kill me. You can find it on Spotify, all places where you can find podcasts, and also on YouTube on the No Life.
That's right. Y'all famous now.
Right.
All of y'all. All of y'all.
So yeah, man, that's all for us, man. We are the Worst Ones, and we out, man.
Yay.